Hi, thank you for joining me in the Louie file today. Sometimes I don't have a clear direction on what I want to talk about, but I feel like, I want to make a video today. I want to make a Louie file. So I feel urge or a pull toward making one, but I don't really have any subject matter on, at the moment what it might be. Well, today I was kind of like that, and I thought, you know what, I'll just talk about the largest subject matter that is on the planet and it's beyond this planet. Love. I mean, how do we could talk for the rest of our lives, for the rest of eternity about love. I've got a feeling that's probably what we're going to be doing, since, the Bible defines love for us as God. It says in 1 John 4:8, the one who does not love does not know God, for God is love. So God is love, but it doesn't say God has love. I think sometimes we make the mistake and we think that God has love, meaning it's a possession of His. It's something that He can give to us at His whim. But what it's really telling us in a more pointed way is that God Himself is love. So He cannot dispense Himself into people in little packets. Is the way I heard it described one time. You need a little more joy? Here you go. A little more peace, a little more love. It doesn't really work like that. This God we're talking about is love. So this made me think in an interesting fashion. All right, so this God who is love, according to the scriptures, we believe created everything. So that would mean love created everything. Sometimes scientists overstep their bounds and they say that everything came out of nothing. Well, the Bible does not teach that. In Hebrews 11, verse 3, it says, by faith we understand that the worlds were prepared by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things which are visible. So everything you see was not made out of that which is visible, but it does not say that it was made out of nothing. No, the things you see, the visible things, were made or created out of the invisible. And they came into being from the very word of God. In the beginning, God said, let there be light. In the beginning, God said, let the grass grow. In the beginning, God said, right? All through the first chapter of Genesis, God speaks and things are so. So, in reality, what we could say is that creation, all visible things came out from God. Well, we've already established God is love, so everything that is visible, tangible to our physical being, originated as love, came out of this God who is love. So that would make it sensible that everything is designed to run or operate according to love, right? So the proper way that creation runs or operates is only on love. Well, that begs the question, Louie, what is love? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Because we've been, people, singers and poets have been posing that question forever. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have the one and only answer to that question, but I will point you to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, a very familiar chapter. Most people call it the love chapter. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this completely and entirely defines love. I mean, come on. God is love, and I'm going to say in a few verses that totally seals the deal on what God and who God is. Well, I would hope that you would know better. I know better. But 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, let me read those verses really quickly for you. 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7 says, love is patient. Love is kind and is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant. Does not act unbecomingly. It does not seek its own. Is not provoked. Does not take into account a wrong suffered. Does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. Bears all things. Believes all things. Hopes all things. Endures all things. So that's a pretty good start if we want to come to some kind of beginning, at least, to understanding this God who is love. So if God who is love created all things, and all things came out from Him who is love, and everything is designed to operate according to this love, then we need to know that love is patient, kind, not jealous, all of these things. So this is a pretty good way of understanding this is the way the universe universes, should I say, are designed to operate. Now, I don't want to focus on every single aspect of this. I'm not going to take the time to do that, but I would like to point out one little phrase. Love does not seek its own. For me, that kind of sums up a whole lot of these other things. We're patient because we're not seeking our own. We're loving, we're kind, we're not jealous, we're not arrogant. All of these things, I think, circle around and come out of this one aspect, which is does not seek its own. So love is for others. So now we're getting somewhere. So God, who is love, is for others, and He has created all things to operate for others, not for themselves. And this is where the fall came in and started to tilt or destroy things to the wrong way. I heard one time someone said, if you look around you, you'll see that this bears true. If you look outside and you see a tree, that tree is growing out of the ground, and that tree's destiny is to become a table, a chair, a house, any number of things, a chest, a picture frame, a guitar, right? So that tree is going to give itself for this other purpose, something else. It's not going to just stay a tree. It's designed to become wood for some other project, some other thing. Cows have milk, and we have taken it upon ourselves somewhere back in time to drink of this milk, and not only to drink the milk, but to eat the meat that comes from a cow. So a cow is there, and it gives its life for the sustenance of people and other animals. Chickens lay eggs for us, and we eat the chickens. Water is to be consumed. I mean, it just goes on and on. All of creation is designed to give itself for someone else. Wow. So, is that how we're created? Yes, that's how we're created. We were created in the image of God, and the way the image of God, the imagers of God operate is how He operates. So therefore, we're loving, and that we pour out our lives on behalf of the betterment of others. And that's what we're seeing here. Love does not seek its own. So, there came a time in Jesus' ministry where the religious leaders just come right out and asked Him, what's the greatest commandment? So they say, Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And He said to them, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and foremost commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And then Jesus says this, on these two commandments depend the whole law and the prophets. So everything can be summed up in love God and love your neighbor. So the law is fulfilled in this way. Well, what law? The law of love. It's the law. Love is how creation works. Love is how God works, therefore it's how His creation is meant to operate. And it does not seek its own. So, if you think about this for a minute, we tend to think of laws as, things written on a page or hung on a wall or carved in stone, and those are commandments or laws. Not saying they are not those things, but what if what we're really talking about here when we use the term law, the law of love, is really teaching us how love works, right? The law of gravity is not gravity itself. If I drop this object, oh, that's kind of loud. If I drop this object over and over again, you'll come to the place where you'll realize that it will fall every single time. And somewhere long ago, some scientist was observing something dropping over and over, and they said, well, that's a law. So they defined gravity. They said it was the law of gravity. So it's how gravity works. So when we look out on the creation of all things, and we look at ourselves and we say, God, who is love, designed us to work a certain way, designed us to work as love, being love. So anything that's attempting to operate selfishly or in some way that isn't for others, it's broken law. You're going against how you were designed to operate. Selfishness and pride are the ultimate resistance against how you were meant to work, how you were meant to get along properly. In John 14:21, Jesus said something amazing. He said, "He who has my commandments and keeps them is the one who loves me. And he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and will disclose myself to him." So Jesus is telling us, if we love him, if we love God, we will find ourselves keeping his commands. It's not that we, in an independent way, set out to obey some laws written on stone and then therefore we love God. It's reversed. It's like when the love of God is in us, then we love him and we love others, which is the fulfillment of all commands. So as we're keeping them, that's evidence that we love him, not the other way around. Now, the beautiful thing about this verse is it says if we do this, then Jesus himself will reveal himself to us. So if you're living in selfishness, self-seekingness, pride, as though you're independent and you get to live your own life and you're in charge of things, then you will not see God. Jesus is saying, if you love me, and you will keep my commands, and therefore I will reveal myself. So we will see him as we operate the way he designed us to operate. Right? Now, there's one more little catch here. Our big problem, this is our really big problem. The big problem is God is love and we're not. So the command to us is to love God and love our neighbor, but we, in and of ourselves, have absolutely no ability to do such a thing. I cannot love. Only God is love. Now, like I said before, God does not hand out and dispense out love in little packets, but he will move right into you. And he will be love. He will be Mr. Love inside of you. This is why the Bible describes humans, people, as vessels, temples, and branches. Because see, we're the vessel, we're the cup, but we're not the coffee. We're the vessel, but he's the love in the cup. Right? We're the temple, but we're not the deity or the God that dwells in the temple. He is. And we're the branch, not the vine. Jesus said that if we're abiding in him, we'll bear much fruit. But you know what? He will be the producer. We don't produce that fruit. We get the pleasure and the privilege of bearing it. So ultimately, the point is this. God is love, and he's the only one that can love. But the beautiful thing is he wants to move into me and you and be love in and through us, and dare I say, even as us. So we will fulfill that commandment of loving God and loving others if he's in us. See, if he's in us, then he will do what only he can do, and his character is on display through his branch. In Galatians 5, it tells us the fruit of the Spirit is love. So if the Spirit of God, who is love, is in you, then this love that is God will come out of you. As long as you are for others. Wow, that's so great. I hope this has helped you today. It's a lot to think about. But God is love, and he designed us in his image to operate as he operates, and that is in love. All right. Thanks for watching the Louie File. I will see you next time. See you later.